I can't picture you as somebody that would want her family annihilated. It doesn't make any sense to me that you would want that to happen.
Do you think your child could ever wish you the worst? Like, for example, wish you were dead? I agree. It sounds really strange and creepy, but still, it can happen. If you've ever heard of the Caffey family, then you probably know what I'm talking about. 3 members of the Caffey family were murdered in their home in Alba, Texas, on March 1st, 2008. Erin Caffey, who was 16 years old at the time, orchestrated the murder of her mother, Penny Caffey, and her younger brothers, Matthew, 13, and Tyler, 8. Her father, Terry, was the only survivor. He survived after being shot 5 times. The murders were carried out by Erin's then-boyfriend, Charlie Wilkinson, and his friend, Charles Wade, while Wade's girlfriend, Bobby Johnson, acted as the getaway driver. Erin and Wilkinson planned the crime for a month after Erin's parents expressed their disapproval of their relationship. The crime became infamous because of its brutality. One of Erin's brothers was stabbed multiple times, and her mother was nearly decapitated. And right away, the question comes up, how could a daughter have so much hatred for her own parents? But actually, the reason is pretty simple. Her parents forbade her from seeing her boyfriend. Of course, they had their reasons. He was really strange and lived a wild lifestyle. And for parents, it's obviously important that the child makes the right choice. But let's break it all down step by step. The Caffey family were devout Christians and members of the Miracle Faith Baptist Church, where Erin sang in the church choir and Terry was the youth pastor. They lived in Alba, Texas, a rural area with a population of 492 people at the time. The Caffey children were homeschooled for 3 years using a Bible-based curriculum. Erin was diagnosed with attention deficit disorder, which was the reason for homeschooling. 6 weeks before the murders, they were enrolled back in public schools, and Erin started attending Rains High School. Erin met 18-year-old Charlie Wilkinson while working at a Sonic fast food restaurant in 2007, and they quickly started a romantic relationship. Wilkinson lived with his father and stepmother, seeing his biological mother only once or twice a year. Wilkinson gave Erin his grandmother's engagement ring as a promise ring. Penny demanded it back after noticing it during a church event. A few weeks before the murders, Erin was told she was forbidden from seeing Wilkinson after Penny found his MySpace page, which contained profanity and references to sex. After this incident, Erin and Wilkinson began planning a crime so they could be together, and reportedly plotted it for about a month. Erin's ex-boyfriend later revealed that she had previously tried to convince him to kill her family because they disapproved of their relationship, but he refused and eventually broke up with her. As you already know, Erin's father, Terry Caffey, survived that terrible crime. He also gave an interview, which is available on the Forgiveness Project website. His words truly sent chills down my spine. It's really hard for me to imagine what it's like to lie helpless on the ground while your family members are killed one by one, and you can't do anything about it. Let's take a look at Terry's interview to understand exactly how this crime happened.
It's quiet, we're peacefully asleep in our bed, and then all of a sudden our bedroom door flies open, and you can hear the door hitting the wall, like bam. And
you recognize one of the 2 people that have come in, right?
so Charles Wilkinson.
So you suddenly realize that the person that is causing this mayhem, or one of the 2 people, is your daughter's boyfriend, the guy who until 2 days before has been her boyfriend.
Correct. He had been in our home many times.
That Saturday, I came home at midnight after a 14-hour shift and was completely exhausted. I heated up dinner, ate a little, and fell asleep right away. After that, I didn't hear a sound until 3 in the morning when the door to our bedroom suddenly flew open. My first thought was that one of the kids had a nightmare. Then I heard gunshots. It was the loudest sound you could possibly imagine. I reached out and hit Penny with my hand and got shot in the hand and face, which threw me out of bed and knocked me out. When I came to, I heard noise and 2 voices. I felt someone kick me in the leg and heard heavy breathing. My only thought was, God, please make it quick. But nothing happened. Blood was pouring from my mouth, nose, eyes, and ears. I remember trying to get up, but I couldn't feel the right side of my body. Then suddenly I started thinking, the kids. I heard footsteps coming up the stairs, and I was overcome with panic. I grabbed the mattress, the blanket, anything I could get my hands on to try to get up. Then I heard Bubba shout, "Charlie, why are you doing this?" So I had just seen Charlie, Erin's boyfriend. I knew why he was here. He was getting revenge because we made him break up. Erin was always a good girl. She was always smiling. But as soon as she started dating Charlie, she changed a lot. She used to take pride in her appearance, but then she started slipping and became disrespectful to Penny. A few days ago, we found out what Charlie was really like with his drinking and sleeping around, and we told her to break up with him. I heard Bubba scream again. "No, Charlie, no!" Then I heard more gunshots and dropped to the floor. After that, I don't remember anything. Later, I found out that they came in with samurai swords and found Tyler in the closet. Then they took turns stabbing him like he was a rag doll. They stabbed him to death. I lost consciousness a second time, and when I came to, the room was on fire. Somehow, I got up and climbed over the mattress. That's where I found Penny. I had never seen anything like it. They had almost decapitated her. Our bathroom was the only place we could escape from. I crawled through the window and just collapsed on the floor. If only I could make it to my neighbors, Tommy and Helen, they would fix everything. It took me about an hour to crawl a distance equal to 4 football fields. I made it about halfway and just wanted to die. But then I thought, if I couldn't save my family, I had to live long enough to hold those responsible accountable. I gathered all my strength and focused on the light in Tommy and Helen's window. Finally, I collapsed on their porch. I couldn't have gotten up even if I wanted to. Tommy and Helen called 911, and I was taken to the hospital. The days and weeks that followed, the grief, I can't put it into words. I had thoughts of ending it all and leaving by my own hand. I was overwhelmed by bitterness and hatred. I wanted to find those guys. I wanted to strangle them. Over time, I started to realize that my grief and anger would destroy me. I could never honor my family if I let this destroy me. I decided I wasn't going to become a bitter old man. Forgiveness took months, during which I prayed constantly, even when I was still furious with God. But one day, I went back to my property alone, something I had never done before. And looking up at the sky with my arms wide open, I asked, "God, why didn't you take me? Why did you take my family? I need an answer now, not next week, not next month. I need an answer today." It was so profound because as I spoke those words, I saw a piece of paper attached to a tree just a few feet away from me. On it were the words, "You are almighty. You are in control of everything." The grieving process is definitely a long journey. It's not something you can just flip a switch and everything will be fine. There are times, days, when I cry, but those days are happening less and less often. I forgave my daughter, and that was much easier than forgiving the guys who did this. For a long time, it felt unbearable to me. When the lawyers told me they wanted the death penalty, I prayed again and asked, what would Jesus do? I believe he would have spared their lives. That's why I wrote letters and protested in front of the Attorney General's office, asking him to spare these guys' lives. They were shocked and asked me why. I told them that killing these guys wouldn't bring my family back. I want them to wake up every morning and think about what they've taken away. And I hope that one day they'll find repentance in their hearts. I want people to take something good from all of this. You can understand the father of this family. He's a man with a huge heart, and it's clear he understands more than we do. Put yourself in his shoes and think about how you would react if you heard such a sentence for the killers. I'm sure many of you would be glad, because justice really has been served. But think about it. It's much harder to live with and come to terms with what you've done. Of course, no one can guarantee that they'll actually realize what they've done in the end. But at least this way, there's a chance. Terry Caffey is a real man and a person with a big heart. If he was able to forgive what these people actually did...
What the hell happened?
I guess what it all boils down to when I think about it, And I think about other young kids that have came in after me and people that'll come in even when I die, you know, young kids. It's all about choices and the choices I made at a young age. Didn't think that it would affect, you know, I just thought it was just affecting me and the little stuff that I was doing, but the little stuff adds up and then it just, you know, blows up and we don't think about choices.
On the morning of March 1st, 2008, Wilkinson and Wade entered the Caffey family's home, while Erin waited outside in the car with Johnson. Around 3 in the morning, Penny and Terry Caffey were awakened by the sound of their bedroom door hitting the dryer in the laundry room, which was next to their bedroom. Penny Caffey was the first to be shot, and she was also attacked with a samurai sword, which resulted in her being nearly decapitated. Matthew was shot in the head. Just before he was shot, his father Terry heard him scream, "Charlie, Charlie, why are you doing this? No, Charlie, no, please, why are you doing this?" Tyler was repeatedly attacked with a sword by Wilkinson and Wade. Terry was shot 5 times and left to die. After the crime, the house was set on fire. Terry, the only survivor, managed to escape from the burning house and made his way to a neighbor's home, which took him over an hour. He was determined to survive so he could identify Wilkinson to the police. After that, 911 was called and authorities arrived at the scene. All 4 suspects were found in a mobile home belonging to Wade and were taken into custody the same day the murders were committed. Wade, Wilkinson, Johnson, and Caffey were each charged with 3 counts of capital murder. At the same time, prosecutors stated that they did not plan to seek the death penalty for Erin. Bail for each of the accused was set at $1.5 million. Although Erin was a minor at the time of the murders, she was tried as an adult and held in the Hopkins County Jail. On January 2nd, 2009, she received 2 life sentences for her role in the crime after accepting a plea deal, which made her eligible for parole at the age of 59. Wilkinson and Wade avoided the death penalty by taking plea deals, receiving life sentences without the possibility of parole. Johnson was named an unarmed accomplice and sentenced to 40 years in prison. She'll be eligible for parole after serving 20 years. Since then, Wade has expressed remorse for what he did. Now, Terry Caffey is involved in full-time ministry and has visited 600 public schools and 800 churches to share his story. Since then, he is remarried and has 4 children, 1 biological and 3 adopted from his wife Karen. Now you know exactly how this crime happened, and you know that Terry Caffey truly is a man with a very big heart. But there's a big question. What was happening with Erin all this time? When the whole gang was caught, Erin claimed that she'd been kidnapped. But of course, the police got to the truth. After medical personnel examined Erin for injuries and took her blood for a toxicology test, the police took Erin and her grandparents to the hospital to see her father. On the way, Officer Sanders, who was driving, received a call requesting that Erin be arrested. The toxicology report showed no substances that could have caused memory loss, and she had no symptoms of smoke inhalation. Wade also confessed to the police, as did Johnson, who told them that the plan was Erin's idea. Officer Sanders pulled over and asked Erin to step out of the car. Erin's grandmother asked her if she had anything to do with what happened to her family, but she insisted that she did not. Since Erin was a minor, the authorities took her to a magistrate judge instead of the police station. Later, the judge said he was surprised to see a small, young, blonde girl after being told about the crime. The judge read Erin her rights and asked if she would agree to talk to the police. Erin, however, refused, preferring instead to write a statement in which she detailed her version of events. She wrote the same story she had already told the police, claiming that she remembered little except for the smoke. She also wrote about 2 figures with swords and about her supposed memory of drinking something in the trailer. Not only did Erin actually provoke this terrible crime, but she also brazenly lied to everyone, claiming she had been kidnapped, poisoned, and forced to go along with this brutal crime. Although supposedly she did offer an alternative, but her accomplices, even after everything they did, will tell a more truthful version of these events. I can draw this conclusion, at least, because the police confirmed the statements of these terrible people. Unlike Erin's version of events.
Some people think it's amazing and the power of his faith. Other people think it's ridiculous and he shouldn't be standing by someone that killed his wife and his 2 sons. I, as a father of 4 kids, I can understand why he's taken this decision, why he stood by you. You're all he's got from that family.
While Erin told one version of the attack, Wilkinson and Wade told a different one. During questioning, Wilkinson stated that Erin had called him the day before. He said that Erin was angry at her parents for keeping them apart and that she wanted them dead. Wilkinson reportedly asked her again if they could just run away, but she insisted that they had to die. On the night of the murders, Wade and Wilkinson allegedly picked up Erin and drove around the county for about an hour, coming up with a plan. Wilkinson reportedly asked Erin several times to just run away, but in the end, they returned to the Caffey house. According to their plan, Wilkinson was supposed to kill the parents, and Wade was supposed to kill Erin's brothers. Then they were supposed to set the house on fire. Wilkinson told the police that he promised to pay Wade $2,000 if he helped commit the crime. According to Erin, the money was kept in a safe in the Caffey house. However, Wilkinson told the police that less than $400 in cash was found in the house. Erin, on the other hand, insisted that it was Wilkinson who wanted her parents dead and that she herself was also a victim. At first, the police believed that Wilkinson might have been behind these plans, but phone records from that night proved otherwise. Erin called Wilkinson 6 times between 11:45 p.m. and 1 o'clock a.m. from her house. In addition to these calls, there were 7 more incoming calls to the house between 1:20 a.m. and 2 o'clock a.m. These records matched Wilkinson's timeline, as he told police that Erin called several times during the attack to ask why it was taking so long. Before the trial, Terry visited Erin in jail twice a week. Since they weren't allowed to discuss the case before a guilty verdict was reached, they mostly talked about general topics. All their conversations were recorded and could be used against Erin. Terry told reporters that at first, these visits were very difficult for him. Despite his mixed feelings, at the end of every visit, he always told Erin that he loved her. Despite the evidence against Erin, as well as the testimony of her accomplices, Terry decided to believe Erin's version of events. He believes that she was simply planning to run away that night before Wilkinson changed his mind. Erin told Terry that on that night, she called Wilkinson, trying to stop him. First and foremost, Terry believes that Wilkinson was the main person who wanted both himself and Penny dead. After Erin was sentenced, Terry makes a 3-hour trip once a month from his home to the prison in Gatesville. Now, they can freely discuss the case, but according to Terry, they're gradually opening up about the topic. In an interview with reporters, Terry said, "I have so many questions, and I don't want to overwhelm her with all of them at once." In another interview, he told reporters that he had forgiven Erin for what happened. I'm sure that Terry actually believed his daughter, because his heart just can't handle the reality anymore. What I'm trying to say is that deep down, he actually understands that Erin, his own daughter, wished death upon her family, including Terry himself. But he just can't fully accept this fact. That's exactly why Terry chose to believe his daughter when she said she was kidnapped, forced, and so on, even though Erin's boyfriend and his friend claimed the exact opposite, saying that Erin's boyfriend actually suggested they just run away so there wouldn't be all this bloodshed. But it was Erin who insisted that this brutal crime actually take place. The crime was featured in the American crime drama series Final Witness in 2012. In 2020, this crime became the basis for the 6th episode of the 13th season of the series Snapped: Killer Couples. In 2016, Erin gave an interview to British journalist Piers Morgan for a documentary TV series. Terry wrote a book about these events called Terror by Night: The True Story of a Brutal Texas Murder That Destroyed a Family, Restored One Man's Faith, and Shocked a Nation. In 2014, this story was featured on the American talk show Dr. Phil, where Terry appeared as a guest.
What pulled you to stay here for those 4 months?
I felt this is my home, and I'm trying to make sense of what happened. I'm thinking if I could go back to the property, I still, in a sense, still have my family with me, have the memories, and not just the memories of that night, but I have the memories of my children playing. I came back because I needed to get my healing, and those were some terrible, terrible months. slept with I still sleep with a loaded gun, but I have it close by in a nightstand. But then I was actually sleep with the gun on my chest. I would just lay there really, wouldn't sleep much. And when I would doze off, I would wake up here, bam, I would hear the gunshots, and I would wake up and I would just be drenched with sweat.
I don't know if Terry was ever truly able to forgive his daughter, but this case, one way or another, is one of the most brutal I've ever talked about. But despite all this brutality, this case is also quite telling. It shows how, even in the face of such senseless cruelty, a person can find strength and solace and faith in religion, in God, and forgive the closest person to him. Even someone who, by the way, wished them dead. And even though Erin wasn't the one who delivered the blows herself, she was the one who set all of this in motion, and this crime will weigh on her conscience for the rest of her life. Now, Erin is already quite an adult, and I'd like to believe that something has changed in her mind, and that she's come to some realizations. But whether that's really the case, only time will tell. I hope that one day she'll answer that question herself. That's all I have for today, friends. Thank you for sticking with me. See you soon, and goodbye to everyone.